Residents say they're living in fear after video showing people trespassing into their homes. We're live with demands that they're making to the city tonight.
Miami police arrest a man more than a decade after they say he attacked and raped a woman. Coming up, find out how they caught him.
Plus, a small plane crashed and landed near an elementary school. The details on the emergency landing.
Get a restraining order because I just don't know what else to do because I got a loss.
Calls for help. For the first time, we're hearing the voice of Mary Jingles as she begged for protection weeks before her tragic murder.
No phones, no exceptions. A proposed law could keep students off their devices all day. The push to dial down distractions.
Live NBC 6 News at 11 starts now.
More than 10 years after a woman was attacked and sexually assaulted in Miami, police say that they've arrested the man responsible. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jawan Strader.
And I'm Trina Robinson. Nico Clemens is live in Miami tonight to explain how police caught their suspect. Nico.
11 years, Jawan and Trina, January 2014. And you have to imagine, this is a day this woman has waited for. The police got a huge break just a couple of months ago.
For almost 11 years, we were trying to locate this man.
The case turned cold.
However, we never gave up.
Miami police detectives arrested Julio Alvarenga Wednesday, more than 11 years after they say he attacked and raped a woman. January 1st, 2014. Detectives say the woman was walking to work on Northwest 12th Avenue near 30th Street when Alvarenga grabbed her by the hair, punched her, and brought her into the bushes. The arrest report says she tried to yell for help, but Alvarenga covered her mouth and kept punching her in the face. Investigators say he then raped her. The woman was able to get away and call police. She told officers Alvarenga kept her in the wooded area for an hour and 30 minutes, and he appeared drunk.
To do something like that to a woman who was defenseless at that time?
Later that morning, the detectives stopped by this market to watch video from the surveillance cameras. Sure enough, the detectives saw Alvarenga and the woman across the street before they went out of the camera's view. The arrest report says months later, the results from the woman's rape kit were, quote, positive for foreign DNA present, but there were no matches in their system. Fast forward to January 2025. Detectives say they were able to match Alvarenga's DNA after deputies recently arrested him in Miami-Dade County. A desperate search for answers and a suspect comes to an end more than a decade later.
Sometimes it takes time to get to the one lead that we need to make the arrest.
Alvarenga's in court tomorrow. In Miami, Nico Clemens, NBC 6 News.
All right, Nico, raising their voices to demand more security. That was a message from neighbors in Little Abner Mobile Home Park in Sweetwater who held a protest.
Lorena Inclán was there and has the latest. Lorena.
Well, this protest comes just 3 days after a fire broke out in this neighborhood at one of the mobile home parks. And neighbors here, they tell me that this community has been targeted by squatters, and today they demanded more security. Lil Abner neighbors protested for hours Wednesday on the corner of a busy Sweetwater roadway, as well as inside their mobile home community. You can hear the frustration and anguish in their voice. On Sunday, a fire ripped through an abandoned mobile home. The cause of the flames has not been determined yet, but neighbors have their suspicions.
How is it possible that a mobile home with locked doors and windows could catch fire being empty?
For months now, NBC 6 has been reporting on the complex nature of impending evictions facing families here. Back in November, more than 900 residents received eviction notices, telling them they have until May 19th to move out. The owner of the park is planning to build brand new housing on site. Some residents have taken buyouts and left many homes vacant. Those who remain tell me they've witnessed squatters and looters targeting their neighborhood.
I am a young person, 40 years old, and I've become sick with nerves.
One resident shared these surveillance videos with NBC6 appearing to show someone trespassing and peering into a home with a flashlight just last month. Vivian Hernandez, who's lived here for more than 20 years, says she feels abandoned.
Nosotros como vecinos hemos llamado.
Us as neighbors have called Sweetwater police many times, and they don't come. And when they do come, they don't give us reports of the situation.
Today, our cameras rolled as Sweetwater PD showed up. They spoke with neighbors, took notes, and even checked on an empty home after complaints of a bad odor. So far, almost 200 homeowners have signed on to a class action lawsuit as they fight against being vacated from their homes. In a statement sent to NBC6 following Sunday's fire, the management company for Lil Abner, the Urban Group, says, "We are committed to the continued safety of our community, and we will resume demolition of vacated mobile homes this week following the protocol required by the county. Demolition and cleanup will continue until the park is clear. Local authorities are currently conducting an investigation to determine the cause of the fire, including whether arson may have been involved." And neighbors here want that demolition to be paused as well. That was one of the things that we're asking for today. And you can really tell there's a sense of community in this neighborhood for those who have chosen to stay and fight, as they're all united by the same difficult circumstances. Reporting live from Sweetwater, Lorena Inclán, NBC6 News.
Lorena, thank you. Well, something wider than a school bus rode up to a South Florida school this afternoon. A small plane crashed and landed in a field next to Coconut Palm Elementary in Miramar. A pilot and a student were on board when the plane began having mechanical issues. A plane clipped a fence and flew between two portable classrooms before landing and stopping near a school playground. We're told that kids were on the playground not long before the crash landing. The good news is that no one was hurt.
Crazy video. Well, more than a dozen family-owned restaurants scammed out of thousands of dollars. But tonight, 2 Miami-Dade County inspectors accused of extorting them in exchange for cash are off the streets.
And as Jamie Garola tells us, authorities believe that there may be other innocent restaurants that have fallen victim to the scheme.
It's called Operation Grease Trap and it led to the arrest of these two men, Craig Bethel and Charles Bryant. They worked for DERM, or the Department of Economic and Regulatory Resources, with Miami-Dade County. They're accused of extorting large sums of money from family restaurants in South Florida.
Both subjects extorted a total amount of $14,620 from 15 hardworking, long-established family businesses.
The investigation began in April of last year. Both men worked independently, but investigators say they knew each other and had a similar scheme. They would lie, allegedly, that restaurants had faulty grease traps. The pair is accused of using their position by threatening to shut down restaurants or give them large fines if they didn't pay them off.
They felt like they were being robbed. It was their business on the one side, they were going to get violations or shut down, or they pay off this guy for a couple $100.
Bethel is facing a host of charges, which include official misconduct by a public servant, 10 counts of compensation or reward for official behavior, and organized fraud. Bryant has been charged with organized fraud and compensation or reward for official behavior. Some of the 15 restaurants include Fritanga Monimbo, Presto Foods, Annie's Bread, Peruranita, and Gran Parada Cafe. According to arrest warrants, financial records like Zelle payments also link the pair to the crime. So did the first victim in the case.
She actually identified the second victim in the case. It was an adjacent restaurant in the same shopping center where she was at. And that led to discovering Mr. Charles Bryant and taking him into custody.
In a statement, DERM said in part, "We have taken several steps to prevent any criminal behavior in the future, including working to outfit all inspection staff with body cameras and standardizing vehicle tracking systems across the entire department to improve monitoring."
We do believe that there are other victims out there and or possibly other people committing this type of extortion. And so it's so important in our community to understand that if you have that information, please come forward.
If you're a restaurant owner who may have been targeted, you can call the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office Public Corruption Line at 305-599-3121 or the State Attorney's Office at 305-547-3300. In Miami, Jamie Garola, NBC6 News.
Homeland Security Investigations Miami has arrested a man they say is a former member of Cuban intelligence. His photo posted on social media shows federal agents surrounding a man in handcuffs. We're told that the arrest happened in West Park. The feds say that the man fraudulently obtained his lawful permanent resident status, also known as a green card. They have not released his name.
And Juan, now to new details on that mysterious disappearance of an American spring breaker in the Dominican Republic. Virginia police, where Sudishka Kanaki is from, revealed the identity of the person of interest in the case of the University of Pittsburgh student. But Dominican police have yet to make it public, so we won't either. Now here's surveillance video of Kanaki arm in arm with the reported person of interest. You'll see it in a second, with her friends trailing behind them. The 20-year-old would later vanish from that Punta Cana resort. Her girlfriends told police she stayed behind with the young man, and authorities say he later returned to the hotel alone. Police in the DR have also revealed during questioning that the man changed his story about what happened that night multiple times. No arrests have been made and no charges have been filed. For now, investigators are reportedly exploring the possibility that the university student was swept out to sea while sitting on the beach by a strong wave.
The President Trump-led trade war rocking both friends and foes tonight. Washington slapped global trading partners with a 25% hike in tariffs paid on steel and aluminum imports.
Yeah, the move invited swift retaliation from the EU and Canada. Gabe Gutierrez explains.
Welcoming Ireland's Prime Minister to the Oval Office.
Very good news.
President Trump touting today's better-than-expected inflation numbers.
Inflation is way down, and it's based on what we've done.
But tonight, his trade war is escalating. Canada and the European Union slapping new retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., including the EU hitting Kentucky bourbon and Harley-Davidson motorcycles with 50% tariffs. Well, the president's latest round of tariffs took effect, 25% on steel and aluminum imports from around the world.
The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years.
President Trump saying today he'll consider raising the tax on cars imported from Europe, which is currently 2.5%. The EU tariff on imported American cars is 10%.
So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. If they charge us 25 or 20% or 10% or 2% or 200%, then that's what we're charging them. There's nothing more fair than that.
Stephen Capone employs 100 people making steel products in Massachusetts and supports Trump's new tariffs. He says cheaper Canadian steel has decimated his business.
We have to revitalize our industry, our economy. We can't rely on foreign imports for anything critical.
But Trump's new tariffs are devastating for Canada. In the working class city of Drummondville, manufacturing is huge, and about 18% of the jobs here are linked to the U.S.
What would your message be to President Trump?
Stop the tariff.
Jean-Francois Nadeau has worked at Matritech, a metal processing company, for 25 years. At one point yesterday, President Trump threatened 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum.
What is this uncertainty doing to you?
It's giving us, we are kind of becoming crazy right now. It's going too fast. Yeah. On the morning it says something, on the afternoon it says something else.
And don't get him started on Trump floating the idea of annexing Canada, making it the 51st state.
The first time was, he's making a great joke. Now it's not a joke anymore.
Louis-Charles El-Bari works for the mayor's office in Drummondville, where he says some 3,000 Canadian jobs are now at risk. The tariff turmoil potentially driving up prices on both sides of the border.
Did this almost feel like a betrayal?
I mean, to some extent, yeah, because America's our greatest friend, right?
And that was Gabe Gutierrez reporting. Newly released calls reveal a mother's desperate attempts to get help before she got killed.
Ma'am, get back over there. There's an alligator right under your car.
Pizza, police, and a gator. The delivery surprise that had everyone jumping back.
Cell phone ban, the measure that could keep kids away from their phones from bell to bell.
And Trina, for the last few mornings, we've been waking up with temperatures into the 50s. Tomorrow morning, it'll be 60s, but plenty of South Florida sunshine that will gradually warm us into the 80s for the next few days. More on that coming up in your First Alert forecast.
You know, my intent is to get a restraining order because I just don't know what else to do because I'm just at a loss. And obviously the current court order is not doing anything. I don't know.
Yeah, tonight we are hearing the voice of Mary Jingles. It comes as she sought help from the Broward Sheriff's Office in the weeks before her husband is accused of killing her, her father, and a neighbor in Tamarac last month.
NBC6 investigative reporter Tony Pipitone has those calls and other new details released to him today by the sheriff's office.
Hi, my name is Mary Jingles. I called on Friday. This is not an emergency, so I want to make sure I'm not taking up phone time.
She is polite, patient, and frustrated. In late December, that husband Nathan Jingles continues to violate a court order by entering their home.
You know, my intent is to get a restraining order because I just don't know what else to do because I'm just at a loss. And obviously the current court order is not doing anything. I don't know.
Listen closely as she hangs up.
Bye-bye.
And you hear 4-year-old Seraphine, who would be rescued from her father hours after she told detectives she witnessed him shoot her mother, grandfather, and neighbor, whose home Mary ran to for help. In the second call to BSO's non-emergency line in January, she wants updates on prior complaints that failed to get deputies to arrest Nathan, like the time she accused him of hiding in her garage plastic gloves, duct tape, zip ties, contractor bags, CSI gear, crushed white powder, and a note mentioning a means and cause of death, needle air embolism. Or the time in October when she found a tracking device like this one attached to her car. Once she told a detective she connected to Nathan's credit card receipts.
The only one that I would assume could be a case for the criminal investigations team that seems like an easy case. I want to say the person that I spoke to last was I'm guessing a detective.
Whatever investigation took place in either case did not lead to arrest. But after the fact, that detective was among 8 deputies suspended, along with a captain demoted, as Sheriff Gregory Toney vowed to discipline anyone who failed to prevent what happened here on February 16th. When Nathan Jingles, using a gun that was among this arsenal of weaponry returned to him by the sheriff in September, allegedly did what his wife had repeatedly warned she feared he would. Tony Pipitone, NBC6 News.
And Nathan Jingles, indicted last week on murder and other charges, is waiting to learn whether prosecutors will seek the death penalty. He has pleaded not guilty. As for little Seraphine, she is about to enter her 2nd month in state foster care while child protective investigators and lawyers consider whether to recommend she be placed with her mother's sister in Texas or with someone else.
All right, well, a Florida woman ordered a pizza delivery, but she ended up being the one who got a big tip from police.
Ma'am, get back over there. There's an alligator right under your car.
Oh my God!
Oh, body cam video shows an officer as he warned a woman that she was standing within feet of an alligator. The gator had parked itself under a car, as you heard from the officer, in front of the woman's home in Bradenton. The delivery driver was too scared to walk to the back of the home to deliver the pizza, so the officer served up the pizza himself. Trappers came in and relocated that gator.
Well, hey, it looks like not all systems were go for tonight's launch of the SpaceX Crew 10 mission.
Sorry we couldn't get you off today, but we'll speak to you soon and look forward to trying it again.
The 4-person crew were already in the capsule when they learned about 45 minutes before liftoff that the launch at Kennedy Space Center had been scrubbed. SpaceX said it was called off due to hydraulics, an issue with the structure that supports the Falcon 9 rocket on the launch pad. NASA says the next target launch date is Friday night at 7:03. The delay means astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore will remain in space until possibly next week. They have been at the International Space Station since June, if you can believe it, after NASA decided the Boeing Starliner they arrived on was unreliable enough to bring them back home.
The most accurate team in South Florida. NBC6 First Alert Weather.
And had some nice weather up there on the Space Coast tonight. Certainly that is the case here in South Florida, but it's kind of mild, a little bit warmer tonight than it was even last night, where temperatures were quick to fall into the lower 60s and even upper 50s. Right now we're going to track temperatures through the 60s during the overnight hours tonight, leading to what will be a beautiful Thursday. We'll be warming up from this point forward with several more dry days ahead. That is until we get to our next cold front that is on deck for South Florida come Monday. So until then, no rain on the radar. The radar always on here at NBC6, scanning the skies, but no rain and certainly no cloud cover. Skies are clear and trying to give us a chance underneath high pressure to just watch the temperatures pull back a little bit further tonight. We're going to keep this mild and quiet pattern that's in place going for several more days. Certainly the case tonight. Again, if you've had an opportunity to look up, clear skies are the rule. Light winds, but this time around, instead of a north wind, it's an ocean breeze, a light east to southeast wind, and that's having a definite impact on temperatures. Notice in Homestead, where the winds are calm, temperatures there are at 64. Subtle breeze in place up and down the east coast here along the beaches of Broward County and Miami-Dade. Temperatures there right around 70. So the wind certainly having an impact on our temperature trend, but overall quiet and clear skies tonight, sunny skies tomorrow, but with winds out of the southeast, warming up back into the lower 80s for everyone here in South Florida. We'll just keep that going into Friday, but the one thing you'll notice, a subtle increase in humidity and afternoon high temperatures by the weekend, reaching into the mid 80s. Looking down the road, we're quiet and dry. We built some moisture back in by Saturday night into Sunday, and by the tail end of the weekend into the work week, Monday brings in our next front. That's our next chance for some rain. Otherwise, we'll see another round of dry air pressing into South Florida early next week. 62 tonight. Can't rule out a few locations out west. Pick up maybe an upper 50-degree reading there. But clear skies and light winds are really the focus of the forecast. Grab your sunglasses tomorrow. You'll notice it's a little bit warmer. Our afternoon highs into the lower 80s. But the humidity starts to build as the heat builds. As we get into the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you'll notice it with 84 and 85 as the highs respectively. Some showers on St. Patrick's Day and a little bit cooler by the middle of next week.
Thank you, Rye. A new bill could ban cell phones on campuses from bell to bell, while lawmakers say it's necessary. Welcome back. If some state lawmakers get their way, the only thing students will hear ringing on campus will be the school bell. A bill in the Florida House would ban the use of cell phones for the entire school day from bell to bell. We're told exceptions would be made for students with certain needs. Current Florida law bans the use of cell phones during classroom instruction unless used for educational purposes. However, the current law leaves enforcement up to the school districts and campuses. The new bill in the House currently doesn't have a companion bill in the Florida Senate.
A class action lawsuit has been filed in connection with Miami-Dade County school bus camera program. Attorneys representing drivers filed the lawsuit last week against the county, the sheriff's office, the school district, and the company Bus Patrol. The lawyers say that Miami-Dade drivers have not been given hearing dates after they tried to fight their citation. The complaint also says that the camera program has generated more than $19 million in civil penalties, with most of the money going to Bus Patrol and the rest to the school district.
While the program may have been well-intentioned, I think it's clear they prioritized revenue generation over rights.
Miami-Dade Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz announced last week that she was suspending enforcement of all citations related to median violations. Bus Patrol said that the revised enforcement policy did not mean any previous ticket was issued in error. The company also told NBC6 that they administer the program, but that the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office determines and approves when to issue a citation. The company also called the class action lawsuit a frivolous and baseless attempt to undermine a critical student safety initiative.
Next in sports, over at the Kaseya Center, the Miami Heat squared off against the LA Clippers. The Heat desperate to get back into the win column after entering the game on a 4-game losing streak. Plus, the Florida Panthers take a visit to the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, and they dropped off a gift. We'll tell you what item the Panthers donated to the museum. That's next after the break.
Hey everyone, Jesse Eisenberg is my guest tonight. Plus, we have Bernadette Peters, Chet Hanks, and stand-up from Heather Pasternak. It's a great show tonight.
Long John Silver's $6 shrimp baskets will have you hooked. Choose hand-battered, pop-uply perfect, grillin' and sizzling, or for a limited time, crispy coconut. Skip the wait when you make our app your first mate. Long John Silver's Fish Yeah.
Welcome back. Tonight, the Miami Heat were hosting the LA Clippers over at the Kaseya Center. And after 4 consecutive losses, this Heat team was looking to avoid what would be a season-long 5th straight loss. And luckily for the Heat, the Clippers were without their star player, Kawhi Leonard. They were on a back-to-back and decided to rest him tonight. So let's get to the highlights. Palel Larson with the effort and hustle here that would lead to this triple by Terry Rozier, and that would get the crowd in it at the Kaseya Center. That would make it 42-38. Then Tyler Hero here with the steal, and then the finish on the other end. He slams it down, and after trailing by as many as 13, Miami cuts the deficit down to 5. So it's 57-52 at the break. And the rookie having a great game. Larson knocks down the triple, and the Heat are within 4. But in the fourth quarter, the Clippers take command of the game. James Harden here gives LA a 15-point lead, 119-104 the final tonight. The Heat allow the Clippers to shoot 59% from the field and 48% from beyond the arc. And with the loss, Miami is now 7 games under 500 for the first time this season. Here's Coach Bo on the loss.
You know, we were just outplayed tonight. This is probably the first time we haven't gotten off to a good start in a while, and the Clippers had a lot to say about that. You know, they jammed us up defensively where we couldn't get, some of the things that we've been getting.
And the Heat will host the Boston Celtics on Friday night. Turning now to the Miami Dolphins. It was a pretty quiet day 3 in free agency. The only move the Dolphins made is re-signing linebacker Tyrell Dodson. The deal is reportedly a 2-year contract worth around $8 million. Dodson led the Dolphins with 3 interceptions last season. And while the Panthers are in Toronto for a game against the Maple Leafs, they stopped by the iconic Hockey Hall of Fame to donate a ring. It's become a tradition for the championship team to give the ring to the Hall of Fame, and this year they donated the exact ring that was a copy of Alexander Barkov's. And the Panthers will take on their rival, the Maple Leafs, tomorrow night. That'll do it for sports. We'll be right back.
That's our time for now. Thank you for watching. The Tonight Show is next.
Good night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.